Welcome to our show. Do you agree with Hannah Arendt? Grab your popcorn and pick a seat. These are the topics that we're going to talk about today. Hannah Arendt, Judith Butler, and Primo Levi, the survivor of Auschwitz.
Let's see other reasons we need to know Hannah Arendt. Hannah Arendt's family, the Kohls, had originally come to Germany from Russia in 1852 as refugees from anti-Semitism and made their living as tea importers. Hannah's father suffered for a long time from an illness with syphilis and died when Hannah was 7. Then she lived with her mother at her grandfather's house. In 1922, she was expelled at the age of 15 in the Louise School for leading a boycott of a teacher who'd insulted her. This shows that she didn't tolerate injustice from a young age. It also shows how capable she is of leading a group. She uses the refugees as a test case for examining human rights. She argues that governments only give rights if an individual had a national identity, and if he didn't, they neglected him. She explained that the two solutions to the refugee problem were inefficient. One was repatriation, which means to return the refugee to his country of origin, and the other was naturalization, which means to change the refugee's identity to his new state. At Arendt's time, the world was dominated by men. However, she refused to call herself a feminist. She was the first woman to be appointed a professor at Princeton in 1953. The media were engaged in this exceptional achievement, but she never wanted to be seen as an exception. She once said, "I am not disturbed at all about being a woman professor, because I'm quite used to being a woman." Arendt considered some professions and positions unsuitable for women, particularly those involving leadership. She said, "It just doesn't look good when a woman gives orders." But even if she was against the movement, Arendt was a model to the power of women. And here are some of Hannah's quotes that reflect her strong personality.
Here we have Judith Butler. She's an American philosopher and was born on February 24, 1956, making her 64 years old. One of her major beliefs was that Israel's actions should not represent all Jews. We've discussed Hannah Arendt before, and we know that she was asked to write a report about Adolf Eichmann's trial. I'm going to give you a quick summary of the Eichmann's trial, as we've already discussed it before. As we know, he was on trial for being one of the organizers of the Holocaust. His trial took place in 1961 in Jerusalem, and he was executed a year later by hanging in 1962. Hannah Arendt's report, Eichmann in Jerusalem, a report on the morality of evil, was published in 1963, which is a year after he was executed, and she said that he was simply too boring to be evil, and he was just doing his job and taking orders from authority. She also argues that his deeds were not crimes at the time, similar to the problem we faced in the mini-series we were watching, Tokyo Trials. She didn't find him guilty of being a criminal, she just found him guilty of not thinking about the crime he was committing. Butler, however, didn't agree with her, as she found that labeling Eichmann's actions as lack of thinking was naive, and she claims that lack of thinking can lead to genocide, which isn't true.
Now that's a picture that's worth 1,000 words. I want you to imagine with me being one of these people, being humiliated, being perceived as an enemy of the Nazi state, being exterminated into gas chambers, used as a slave labor, being subjected to barbaric medical experiments, being forced to move from one location to another, and finally being killed for doing nothing. And all what's left from you is a collection of ashes. Imagine how traumatic. One of the survivors that we got the chance to know is a Jewish chemist, is an Italian Jewish chemist, Primo Levi. He doesn't consider his survivor heroic. And he believes that those who died in the concentration camp are the ones who are heroes, okay? Primo Levi doesn't develop hate towards the Germans, as he believes that the hatred towards the ethnic group was unacceptable according to him. But if he accepted, he would feel that he's following the beliefs of Nazism that were founded on national and racial hatred. Okay, so these people were criminals. The Germans were criminals. The Nazis were criminals. But Hannah Arendt argues that these people are just following orders, that these people are not criminals, as she believes in totalitarianism. Primo Levi warns us that those who deny Auschwitz will be ready to remake it. Was ethnic cleansing ever repeated? Really? Yes. For example, war in Darfur, the Rohingya in Myanmar, Darfuris in Sudan, Christians and Yazidis in Iraq and Syria. These were all crimes against humanity and against peace, as we've watched in the Tokyo trial. I will leave you with the thought on whether you agree with Hannah Arendt or not. This is our team, and thanks for following up. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate and contact any of the stated email addresses.